In a room full of VIPs and flashing cameras, an event meant to spotlight the future took a surprising turn because of one small question from the youngest person there. A question even the President of the United States didn't see coming. A question about something timeless, the truth. Before we reveal what happened next, drop a comment. What's one piece of wisdom from a grandparent that stuck with you? We love hearing your stories. The grand auditorium was packed, every eye on the brightly lit stage. It was the annual Future Leaders Ask event, where young minds got a rare chance to question the nation's top leaders. And today's spotlight was on President Donald Trump. Confident and commanding, he stood at center stage, navy suit sharp, red tie flawless, fresh off a speech filled with bold promises for a bigger, better, stronger America. The applause still echoed through the auditorium, a wave of approval surrounding Trump as he smiled confidently. Off to the side, a line of children stood nervously in their Sunday best, hand-picked future leaders, each holding a carefully approved question. Among them was 8-year-old Lily, barely noticeable in the grand setting. Unlike the others, she didn't fidget. She stood perfectly still, clutching a worn copy of The Boy Who Cried Wolf in one hand and a neatly folded piece of paper in the other, her official question. In the front row, her mother Sarah watched with a pounding heart, glancing at Lily with a mix of pride and nerves. They had practiced the question, one about infrastructure, safe and approved by event organizers. On stage, President Trump, beaming, motioned toward the children. All right, let's hear from these fantastic young people, the future of our country. Trump's voice boomed through the auditorium, full of energy. The first few questions were easy. One boy asked about space, a girl asked what it's like to be president. Trump handled them smoothly, mixing humor and bold promises. He patted a boy on the head, complimented a girl's sparkly dress, and the crowd laughed as cameras clicked. Everything was running perfectly until Lily's name was called. A hush fell. It wasn't just the usual pause for the next speaker. There was something different about Lily. Maybe it was her tiny frame against the vast stage, or the serious set of her jaw, or her bright white blouse that made her stand out. She stepped forward, clutching her worn storybook, her pace calm and steady. The microphone was a little high, and a stagehand rushed in to lower it. Trump leaned casually against the lectern, smiling in a warm, almost grandfatherly way. And now we have Lily, he said. Welcome, Lily. What important question do you have for your president today? Lily took a breath. Lily took a small, steadying breath and looked out at the sea of faces all blurred under the bright lights. Her eyes found her mother's. Sarah gave a tiny, reassuring nod, though her hands were clammy with nerves. Then, Lily turned to face President Trump, skipping the approved question. Instead, she held up her worn copy of The Boy Who Cried Wolf, just enough for him to see the cover. Mr. President, she began, her voice clear and steady, echoing through the silent auditorium. My grandma, before she went to heaven, used to read me this book a lot. A few soft murmurs rippled through the audience. Trump's smile stayed in place, though something flickered in his eyes. Curiosity, maybe. This wasn't the usual kind of question. This story, Lily continued, her gaze sincere, is really, really important. It's about a boy who didn't tell the truth, and because he lied when something bad happened, no one believed him. The room was now completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. The news cameras hummed softly. Photographers, shutters clicked, and even the usually restless press corps leaned in. Everything was drifting off script. Sarah's heart leapt. This was not Lily's approved infrastructure question. Lily glanced at her book, then met the president's gaze. My grandma always said telling the truth can be the hardest thing, especially when you're scared, worried people won't like you, or think a small lie won't matter. But a little lie can grow, and once trust is broken, it's like a shattered teacup. You can glue it, but it's never quite the same. President Trump straightened. The easy smile vanished, replaced by focused silence as he listened. So, Mr. President, Lily continued. Lily's voice rang out clear and sincere. You're the president. You're the most powerful man. My mom says it must be really, really hard sometimes. So, How do you make sure you always tell the truth? The whole truth? Even when it's super difficult, like the boy in the story learned he should have. Her question hung in the air, simple yet profound. It wasn't a trap or a challenge. It was the honest wonder of an 8-year-old, guided by a storybook, and her grandmother's wisdom, asking a world leader about integrity. For a long moment, President Trump said nothing. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, making people shift in their seats. Aides in the wings exchanged worried glances. This wasn't on the cue cards. This wasn't easy. Trump's eyes stayed on Lily, then drifted briefly to the worn book in her hand, and for just a second it looked as if he was somewhere else, deep in thought. Usually quick to respond and always on the offensive, Trump's confident persona softened for a moment, replaced by something quieter, more thoughtful, almost vulnerable. It was a rare sight, and everyone in the room felt the change. Clearing. His throat, the sound unusually loud in the silence, he said, "Well, Lily," his voice softer, more measured, "that is a very important question, a very big question. And that book," he gestured to the boy who cried wolf, "is a very wise one. Your grandmother sounds like a very wise woman." Lily nodded solemnly, her eyes still locked on him. Trump continued, his gaze briefly sweeping the audience before returning to her. "Being president or in any leadership role comes with big challenges. You have a lot of people watching you, a lot depending on you. And you're right, sometimes telling the truth. The absolute truth can be complicated," he said slowly, choosing his words with care. This wasn't the Trump of rallies or sharp comebacks. This was different. "It's like your grandma said about that teacup," he mused, a thoughtful frown, creasing his brow. "Trust is very precious, very fragile. Once it's broken, it's hard to fix, very hard. Some say it's impossible. I don't know if it's impossible, but it's tough. Very tough." He looked back at Lily, a gentle smile touching his lips. The boy in that story learned a tough lesson, didn't he? That words have power, and if you use them the wrong way, even without meaning to, big trouble can come. The audience sat in rapt silence, witnessing a rare, genuine moment on a public stage. "So to answer your question, Lily," Trump leaned forward slightly, his voice earnest, "how do I deal with it? How does anyone? I think you have to try. You have to remember what's important. You have to think about the people who trust you, and you have to remember stories like the one your grandma taught you, stories that teach us right from wrong," he said softly, not directly answering if he always told the truth or making excuses. Instead, he spoke to the universal struggle. "Your grandmother gave you a great gift with that story, Lily, a gift of wisdom. And by asking this question today, you've reminded all of us, including me, about something very important, the power of truth and the courage it takes to stand by it, even when it's hard." He straightened up, nodding with genuine respect. "You're a very smart, brave young lady, and that was a presidential question. Maybe one day you'll be up here asking questions or even answering them." Lily didn't beam or grin. She simply gave a small, polite smile, clutching her book tighter as she absorbed his words. The moment lingered before a soft, thoughtful applause began, quiet and reverent, spreading through the auditorium in genuine appreciation. President Trump gently guided Lily back to the line of children, placing a hand briefly rested on her shoulder. "Thank you, Lily. Thank your grandma." "For us too," Trump said as the next child was called. The room's atmosphere had subtly shifted. The event went on, but Lily's question and Trump's unexpected, thoughtful response hung in the air. Sarah, watching from the audience, finally exhaled, tears welling in her eyes, tears of pride, relief, and emotions she couldn't name. Her little girl with a simple storybook had held her own. As the event ended and people filed out, the buzz centered on Lily. Reporters gathered, comparing notes, trying to capture the moment's nuance. Clips quickly spread on social media, sparking debate. Some praised Trump's handling of the tough question, calling his response thoughtful and paternal, admiring his recognition of Lily's courage and her grandmother's wisdom. "See, he does have a softer side," one comment read. Others were critical, noting he never directly answered whether he always told the truth, viewing his words as a skillful deflection, talking around the question, not addressing it. Typical, another user posted. For many, the politics faded away, leaving only the simple, profound wisdom of an 8-year-old and the rare moment of genuine reflection from one of the world's most powerful men. It reminded everyone that the most important questions often come not from seasoned journalists or rivals, but from a child's honest perspective. Hand in hand with her mother, Lily quietly left the auditorium, unaware of the impact she'd made. For her, it was just a question, born from a cherished lesson. Her mother squeezed her hand. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart." "Grandma would be too." Lily smiled softly, remembering. Grandma always said, "Truth is like sunshine. It helps things grow, even if it's very bright at first." As they stepped into the afternoon light, it felt like a little bit of that sunshine had broken through the fragile teacup of trust in big politics. Maybe, just maybe, a little girl reminded us all how important it is to try to keep trust whole. What did you think of Lily's question and President Trump's answer? Did it change your view? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if moments like this move you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.